Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV back here now with the snowflakes flying, as you can see, with another of these monthly-ish industry updates to help you understand what's going on in the RV industry. We're going to talk a little bit about what's sort of happened up to this point in the year, but most of this video is really going to be focused on what is sort of the outlook for the 2024 camping calendar year, a couple different people's opinions and some stats and things that may help us get an outlook as to what might be happening as we move out of this year and into the next calendar. Now, as we go, we're going to jump through a bunch of different topics. I will continue to chapter mark these videos so you can more easily navigate from topic A to B to C to whatever interests you the most or doesn't. I do want to mention real quick, I've finally updated my camera after a while, and whenever you get a new camera and I have audio things that I'm ironing out right now, so I need to hear from you. Do you hear from me, basically? Leave me a comment, let me know as this video goes, if everything sounds fine, if everything sounds normal. I think I got it pretty much nailed here, but never know, and you folks at home never fail to tell me if something ain't right. So anyway, I've talked enough, you've seen the topics on the little cheat sheet over here, let's get going. So, I want to begin with a question. Is there any hope left for RV service in this industry? I've said many times on camera before, I feel the service side of this industry is almost fundamentally flawed. But there are these little beacons of hope out there recently, and Lightspeed, who is basically they make software effectively for dealerships, they recently released their awards for excellence in repair event cycle times, or RECT. And basically, from the time that you bring something in for a fix to the time that it's fulfilled and completed, how quickly does that happen? And sadly, the average time out there, according to the most recent stats that I found, is about a 41-day repair event cycle. Now, obviously, some have been much, much longer and some have been much, much shorter, but an average of 41 days. And that sucks. We call that RV jail, where you lose over a month, like, what, 7 weeks? 7 weeks of your potential camping time you just lost to a repair event cycle time, wrecked. Well, it just wrecked your summer is what it did. Well, Lightspeed put out this award for 5 of their dealerships that they have found are very good at getting repairs done in a more timely manner. Here's a quick little list of them up here. One of the things I was going to put this up regardless, I was actually very happy to see that our Traverse City Bish's RV location was among that list. Now, part of that, we actually credit to a little program that we call BishFix. And the idea behind BishFix is that I'm not the only one that thinks a 41-day repair event cycle time is acceptable. We think it sucks, period, pretty hard. So we have launched a program we call BishFix with the idea of basically we have a group of volunteers who has offered to work with us to provide us extra feedback, insight, understanding that, you know, it's not pretty, it's not clean, like we're getting it figured out, but with the end goal of reducing repair event cycle times down to like less than a week, basically. And actually, we are still looking for volunteers for that program. I'll leave you a link in the video description, or you can scan the QR code here off your phone if you're just watching off TV. But keep in mind, this program is still new. We're still in the fledgling phases of it, but the goal is that we acknowledge that there's a sickness in the system and that we're trying to work on finding a cure instead of just treating the symptoms. So BishFix priority is really being based to customers who are primarily local to our various dealerships. We haven't really opened it up nationwide right now, but we are certainly open to any and all input anyone is willing to give. So the question, is there any hope for RV service? We think so. We feel there's got to be a better way, and we are committed to trying to find it. And with your help, who knows? Maybe we can get there. And to establish a quick little baseline here, to just simply state it, this year, the RV industry has not sold as much as it did in the previous years. Overall, in just the month of September of 23, which is the most recent stats. I know this is a December video, but stats always lag behind about a couple months for the way things work out. September 2023 was about 21% down in terms of sales versus September of 2022. Now, year to date, like a year-to-year rollover, the overall there's been about just under 17% fewer RVs sold overall. And I always think it's funny, by the way. Sometimes I'll see little comments, people are like, "Oh, don't sugarcoat it. Things are in the toilet." I'm just sharing stats. These are just the numbers, by the way. They're all open to interpretation. I try to, if I say something that is just more my opinion or interpretation, I do try to let you know that, by the way. I'm not an authority. It's certainly not my way or the highway kind of situation. But overall, yeah, there's a whole lot fewer RVs being sold this year. Here's kind of a look, by the way, at the various like market share leader stats. I think I got some Canadian numbers in there if any Canadian clients are watching. For those who aren't aware, about 10% of the people watching this channel are from outside of the U.S., so I try to share a little bit of info there when I can. But it's really interesting. If you really look, there's, about 316,000 total RVs sold so far year to date. But in that same period of time, there's only been about 238,000 RVs built. If you do the math there, your total national inventory has been reduced by about 78,000 units. So nearly 80,000 fewer RVers physically on lots and available now versus last year. And we're going to talk a lot about, what that is, why that is as things go on. And a lot of it has to do with obviously market fluctuation, but interest rates. Interest rates don't just affect customers, they affect dealerships as well. And the more inventory you have and the higher the interest rate, the more of an operating cost gets hit by a dealership, or a dealership has to absorb, and very quickly that can add up. And I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not saying anyone should feel sympathy for an RV dealership, just simply saying the operating cost of running a dealership right now versus the last couple of years is very high. In the same way that your cost of living in your home is higher, the cost of operating a dealership is also much higher. Like, interest alone is like 50% more costly at dealerships now versus what it used to be only a year or two ago. But there's always these like weird conflicting indicators. Some of the big RV shows, like recently here, there was a big Florida RV show down in Tampa. It's different than the spring Tampa RV Super Show. There's like multiple different RV shows that all happen in Tampa. People don't realize it's not the same event. Attendance was up versus last year. Sales were generally pretty strong, although the dealers that spoke up that were interviewed at the location, a lot of them said, yeah, traffic has been good. We've had decent sales stats and everything, but it's definitely interest rates are putting a hurting on a lot of people. And like I just said, interest rates affect people, they affect dealerships, they affect everything economically in one sense or another, I suppose. One of the interesting tidbits that I heard from there, though, something that was said is, prices on RVs are coming down. Prices are coming down. So that's definitely a positive thing more in a, I don't know that it's necessarily a buyer's market. I don't know that it's a seller's market. It's just a weird market right now. And I've said that actually more than once over the last couple of years. There's just been weird periods here. But a thing that somebody mentioned that maybe is worth considering, but I don't know that I just blindly buy into it, is that prices come down. That's good. That is guaranteed spend money. When interest rates go up a little bit, you can potentially minimize the impact that interest rates have on you by paying a loan off early. Now, yes, in theory that does make sense, but unless you're going to be paying it off very quickly, you're still going to be adding a whole lot of extra interest rate money in there. So that's a little bit of interesting sales focus, marketing. I don't want to say rhetoric. It's a thought process that's getting out there in the industry right now. So as you move forward in the 2024 year, be real careful how you kind of buy into little concepts like that. Always make sure you know your total cost of ownership before getting into an RV up front. And I've also received a little bit of criticism in the past where, all I've done is just share where there were some groups that were really projecting that we'd see about a 14% uptick in RV sales in the 2024 calendar year. But not everybody necessarily believes that. So I wanted to offer, in a sense, a dissenting opinion, and I think a very well qualified one. I'd like you to introduce you to Mr. Greg Four. Probably not a name or a face most of you are familiar with, but Greg has spent about the better part of 20 years, just shy of 20 years, either reporting on the RV industry for various publications or actually working at a supplier that works with nearly every RV manufacturer out there, at least in the mainstream market. And he had some very interesting insights that made a lot of sense to me. And I'm paraphrasing Mr. Ford very heavily here, but essentially, he expected things will remain the same, steady, stagnant, whatever word you want to apply to that, but basically status quo for the majority of the 2024 calendar year. And what he really felt was that there were a lot of people who were maybe looking to or leaning to getting into the RV lifestyle, where they moved their plans up due to pandemic pressures, where essentially they weren't initially planning to get an RV quite so quickly, but due to the pandemic stuff and probably limiting other social opportunities, that's the route that they planned, or that they went with, a little bit ahead of schedule. So as a result, the industry has, in a sense, robbed Peter to pay Paul. The industry has already enjoyed the success of the 2024 calendar year a little bit ahead of time, at least a chunk of it. So we're not necessarily expecting that massive influx of new customers and new buyers in the 2024 calendar, according to Mr. Greg. And I could see that. Those things make a lot of sense. And again, he actually also cited things that I just mentioned, like how dealership operating costs overall have increased a lot. Or again, the amount of interest curtailments that dealerships are spending just by having inventory on hand has gone up by about 50%. Well, you know, dealerships are not a non-for-profit organization, so they need to find a way to manage those costs, and that's why you're seeing inventories continue to be reduced. That's actually a trend Mr. Ford expects to see continued through the 2024 calendar year, where this year the market sold about 25% more, give or take, RVs than were built. He's thinking that that'll happen again next year, but only about 10 to 15% as aged inventory gets weeded out. And really, dealerships, you're going to see focusing in on only carrying, for the most part, like their big hitters, their best sellers. And the models that they only sell one or two of a year, they're probably not going to keep on hand anymore because it doesn't make financial sense. And simply stated, in the world of free market business, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. You know, that's just kind of one of those things. And you could say critical things about that, but I think that if you were running a business, you'd probably look at it too. He's kind of estimating that this coming year we'll see between 300 to 330,000 total RV registrations or sales. And that will, again, according to his predictions, be down from what it was in the 2023 calendar year. So I hope you appreciate how I'm trying to be fair. I'm not just trying to share sunshine and rainbows, because there ain't a whole lot of that happening out here in southern Michigan at the time that I'm recording this right now. I like to try to share information on both sides, and I can see some logic in both of it. And it's always going to be one of those cases where time will tell. I will tell you, as more of this year has rolled on and I've been able to observe more things, I'm starting to lean and give a nod to Mr. Ford's estimations here. But again, man, who knows? I'm not an authority on the stuff. I've been wrong before. I'd be kind of curious what sort of total numbers, or what do you think the market's going to look like this coming year from your point of view? What's your estimation? Leave me a comment. Let me know. But a little bit of good news at the gas pump specifically. If you take a look here, fuel prices have steadily, albeit slowly, been declining over the last couple months. What is also awesome is, according to the sources that I follow, that trend is expected to continue through the foreseeable future. You know, we're not expecting things to suddenly become $2 a gallon. That would just be fantastic, certainly. But we are expecting to see fuel prices continue to trickle trend down, largely fueled by the fact, no pun intended, that oil prices have been going down accordingly during this period. Overall, in 47 out of 50 states, fuel prices are down right now. I think it was like South Carolina, Kentucky, somewhere else. I'll try to put a map up there. Though there were 3 states where average fuel prices were up. And interesting, something I thought was interesting, I've never really looked at this, the top 5 most expensive places to get fuel and the top 5 least expensive places to get fuel. That list doesn't surprise me a terrible amount overall, especially when you're talking about a place like Hawaii that doesn't have any sort of, local easy transportability to get fuel out there. And it doesn't surprise me at all that Texas has some of the lowest fuel prices per gallon out there right now, given all the awesome resources that state has locally available to it. I'd be kind of curious, have you felt like you're seeing any relief at the pump coming into the holiday season here? And I would also be kind of curious to know, are fuel prices affecting your plans and decisions on like where to go RVing? Like, are you still going to go camping? Are you going to do it but stay a little closer to home, or have the fuel prices made it to the point that you're like, I just don't know if this is for me anymore? Let me know. And speaking of holiday stuff, some stats that raised my eyebrows. Expectations for holiday travel, and specifically RV holiday travel. So of the roughly 122 million Americans that'll be traveling through the holiday season, about 20 million or so of those are planning to do some level of travel with their RV during that time. That is... That shocks me, like, to the point that number, I question if that's correct or not. But that was a report done by RVIA, who's one of the governing bodies for the RV industry, and their stats, although sometimes kind of crazy and almost unbelievable, tend to be pretty good and pretty spot on. A couple things that I noticed in their report, though, is that like 60% of those 20 million American travelers plan to travel with pets. And of those, vast majority would be 87% dogs. But over half of traveling pet owners reported traveling with cats. And this is something I'm mostly just, I'm asking you guys to continue to leave comments on my videos and continue to provide this feedback so we can get it to manufacturers. But I implore manufacturers to take note of the fact that tons of RV people travel with pets. One of the, I think, biggest reasons a lot of RV people travel with pets is because it's very difficult to find pet-friendly hotel accommodations, and a lot of times the ones that I've found in my travels, if I happen to bump into a pet-friendly hotel, it's often not my favorite place to stay. It's sometimes a little bit rougher around the edges. I don't know why the trend is there. I don't know that it has to be that way, but it's kind of been my observation. I could be wrong, and if you know some exceptions, please share them for the class so that everybody can enjoy. But I want manufacturers to focus on more pet-friendly features other than just, oh, we have a cute dog dish under the island. That's neat. That's cool. I'm not taking away from that. But I can't tell you the number of times I've had people leave comments asking for, like, where do I put a cat litter box or stuff like that. I would really hope manufacturers take note of this thing. Also, something that really shocked me is through the holiday season, just about half of RV owners will use their RV as something of like a guest bedroom or as overflow like kitchen prep space for the holidays. I'm kind of curious, have you ever used your RV as either of those things? Have you ever used it as an extension of your residential kitchen, or as just a place to give guests a little more private place to sleep when they come over and visit? I've never done that personally, but I could see it. Let me know. I also recently had a chance to kind of peel through the generational campground report, which is something that a couple different groups get together and kind of compare notes on and put out. And a lot of it has to do various trends, but also age brackets and breakdowns. And I saw a very interesting thing that really kind of corroborates, or at least corresponds with, correlates. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Correlates, not corroborates. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Okay, let's move on from there. Before ICE comes back with a brand new invention. Obviously, I don't edit my videos a lot, as you can tell. Anyway, it's kind of finding that the age of RVers is skewing younger. And we've talked about that before, but it was really interesting to me. Essentially, the number of people who are kind of aging out of RVing or leaving the RV lifestyle are being replaced almost one for one with a younger group of people coming into the RV industry, with millennials by far composing the largest single segment of RV buyers out there right now. There were some really interesting things along with that, though, is that they found that your average person is willing to travel about 180 miles to find a campsite right now, so give or take 3 hours, which is interesting because that lands almost exactly with like where I tend to target a camping trip. If I'm going to go much further than that, a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, I'll just hop on a plane and I'll hotel it or something like that. I really enjoy RVing, and I'm very blessed that around my native area, southern Michigan, the Michiana kind of Bermuda Triangle, as it were, there's a lot of really nice places, a lot of places in northern Michigan that are just gorgeous, but not everyone has that opportunity. Some people might go further, some people might go shorter. I'd be kind of curious, how far is too far for you before you go, it's just not worth a camping trip or anything like that? But again, kind of like a lot of people are dog and cat owners, this is where, I hope the industry, manufacturers, dealerships, anybody watching this realizes that the face of the modern RVer and the way that they shop is changing. For instance, right now, I think it's something like 82% of RVers and campers will use a search engine first to find what looks like their ideal campsite, and by far and away the number one most critical decision in their process, or factor in their decision-making process, was the price of the place. And I found that, a solo person is averaging like $50 a night for some sites. Now, understand when I say camping, that also includes things like tent camping, so not always just full RV hookups. Whereas like a family of four in an RV with full hookups is averaging about $200 a night right now. And there's a lot of people that are going to say, man, that's really starting to threaten how much just going to a hotel might cost. And yeah, I get that. I get that totally, although hotel costs have also jumped up quite a bit. But it's kind of a thing where people are shopping differently now than they used to. This internet thing doesn't seem to be a fad that's just going away. And more, I hope the online shopping process, whether it's for a campsite, for an RV, for anything, will continue just to become a little more easy and convenient, and something you can do a little more from your couch. Because I'm no different than you. Like, you saw the new Nerdmobile, you saw my my little Ford Maverick. I guess you'd call it a truck, tiny truck. It's a car with a bed, whatever you want to call it. But the shopping process for that, as a person who lives basically in a sales-based industry, I don't enjoy shopping any more than you do. The idea of, oh man, I gotta go sit in front of this salesperson who sits there all day, every day, getting better at getting money out of me, it rocks me the same way it rocks you. It's not a fun thought, it's not a fun process, and I, like just so many other people, I think more and more would like to see the shopping process just be a little more online, streamlined, obvious, give me more information, make me have to call you less. I still want to come see it, I still want to put my hands on it before it's said and done, but let me at least have a real good idea of what I'm getting into before I get there. It doesn't seem like that trend's going away, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I'm kind of curious. Anybody else? Anybody else feel that way? Just me? But maybe, just maybe, someone actually is maybe listening and getting it out there. In a very interesting turn of events, Hyundai and Amazon have partnered up, and you can quite literally find and purchase a Hyundai vehicle through Amazon right now. I don't know if they officially call it this, but think of it like Amazon Auto. It's a little bit different from like a Carvana, a CarMax, or something like that, where they have their own inventory. Like CarMax is the dealer, basically, who just happens to have an online shopping experience. This is a little bit different. This is actually being fulfilled through a third party, in a sense, using Amazon-based search filtering tools and all that kind of stuff to actually shop and browse local, physically available Hyundai inventory, and you can actually check out and purchase the vehicle right there through their website. You then have the choice to either go to the dealership to collect your vehicle and not have to go through the whole negotiation process. It's already done. You already own it, or have it delivered. I'm probably at a cost, I would have to assume. But that's very interesting. So obviously, online vehicle purchase is not necessarily a brand new thing, but it's never been done quite in this way. So naturally, the immediate question I had, why can't we do it with RVs? And the short answer is it probably could be done. But the thing is, the digital infrastructure, all of the infrastructure of the RV industry, I used to say it was about 20 years behind the auto industry. I think that's an insult to the auto industry nowadays, frankly. I think that the average infrastructure, be it physical and or digital, in the RV industry is 20 to 30 years, probably 30 years behind where a lot of the auto industry is, and is in drastic need of some almost forced renovations, if you were. But I would be interested, how many people, rather than walk around dealerships or anything like that would like to just get on something like Amazon.com or similar websites and start punching in filtering options like I'm looking to sleep 4 to 6 people within 20 to 30 feet with this many dollars per month. Like, is that a type of shopping process that you would prefer? Now, I think the surface answer for me is sure, but the thing is, there's a lot of nuance and interesting stuff that happens in this industry where you can have 2 RVs that both sleep 6 people under 30 feet for X dollars per month, but they are so dynamically, drastically different in equipment and purpose and function and build and structure and everything else that I feel like that may also be a recipe for a little bit of consumer disappointment. I don't know that there's ever a perfect solution out there, but I can see some good with some bad with it. But the idea interests me for certain. Looks like we had a hurricane hit over here with all these little barricades. What is going on? And changing topics almost entirely, if you watch enough of my videos, you know I'm not a big fan of especially outside speakers, but speakers in general in RVs. I think that our technology has largely moved beyond that. I don't think they serve the purpose they used to. And most RV audio systems don't sound good. I think a $30 Bluetooth speaker available at your local Target and Walmart or wherever tends to sound better than most RV audio systems unless you're spending good money, big money, on something like Jayco's new luxury series or like Brinkley RVs. They have really good audio systems. But there might be a new third option, and I gotta figure out how I feel about this. ASA Electronics has just released their new Ghost audio system, which is being touted as effectively a speakerless audio system. It does technically have a subwoofer to provide those low frequency audio sounds, but there's no actual like normal speakers in the RV. There's just a couple transducers in the walls, and I basically, have you ever seen those fancy spy glasses where somebody wears a pair of glasses and they can hear audio in their head that's localized only to them? Kind of like that, but instead of glasses with vibrations going straight through your skull, it's going to be audio that comes through the walls of the RV that then goes into your ear hole, which is the scientific technical term. Don't ever let some other doctor tell you otherwise with their educations or whatever. I got WebMD, I know. But I tell you, the quickest way to cheese off a doctor, tell them that you WebMD'd it. Nothing, you know, never mind your years of education. Sorry, I'm off topic. Squirrel! But this is interesting to me. Evidently, DRV, in some of their big high-end fifth-wheel lines, which is, I mean, that's what DRV does, they're actually using this on their factory production things. I'd be kind of curious, anyone who has actually been in and listened to this, I haven't personally had an opportunity to explore that yet. Reports from people are, they're surprised to say, it sounds about as good as any RV audio system that we've ever heard, which, to be fair, maybe that's not setting the bar really high in a lot of things, but the fact is there's, you know, fewer speakers, there's fewer opportunities for things to go wrong. I kind of like the idea in theory, but as with a lot of things, with time and practice, we'll see how it pans out. But again, anyone who's actually had the chance to experience this, if you could leave a comment for the class, I'd be curious to know. And finally, just a note from me to you. Thank you so much for all the time that you folks have spent with me on this channel over this past year. I've been doing these industry updates for just over 3 years now, and this will basically be my second full year with Bish's RV and about my 15th year in the industry. You know, not too bad for people, I think, who, there were some people who said, you know, when this changed from my family's RV dealership to Bish's RV, people said, give you 6 months and you're going to be out of there. So maybe we're going to make it an annual tradition, to which I say to that, nana nana boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. I so appreciate all the different people I've had the opportunity to meet, both in person, whether it's here at one of our events, the people who have sent me messages. Somebody sent me a card the other day just to say thank you. Not looking for help, not looking for nothing, just thank you for the effort that I put in and how it has helped them. And just thinking that I've been able to touch so many lives like that, it's crazy to me. It's very humbling. It's very interesting. I'm very proud of the work I've done. I acknowledge that no place, no person is ever perfect. I certainly make my mistakes. We certainly make our mistakes, but we're always doing our best to try to see how we can improve and make it a little bit better. And I thank everyone who's been able and willing to share that insight, that information, hang with us through that process as we continue to learn and grow and get better. And I just can't thank you enough. Once again, the opportunities you've allowed me, the different places I've been able to go, the new products I continue to get the chance to see. It's all really fun, really exciting, and based on a couple things I know from a few manufacturers, there's some other new fun stuff coming down the pipeline yet, so make sure you stay tuned. But in the meantime, we need any input you're willing to share. If you find these videos useful, if it's helped you, consider throwing a sharing link into some Facebook group or something like that you enjoy. And short of that, until next time, thanks again for tuning in. Hit subscribe if you find this useful. Take care, stay safe, have fun. See you in 2024, everyone.